Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. We're studying Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 2, entitled Contents of the Gita Summarized, text 51. It's May 28th, 2023. Here we are at the home of Garuda and Damayanti Prabhus at a Bhakti Yoga Krishna Consciousness Enlightenment program in La Crosse, Florida. All right, so text 51 of chapter 2. Karmajam Bodhiyukta Hi Palam Chatva Manishina Janma Bandha Vinirmukta Padam Gajanti Anamayam Karma Jambudi Yuktahi Phalam Chatva Manishina Janma Bandha Vinirmukta Padam Gajantyanamayam Karma Jambudi Yuktahi Phalam Chatva Manishina Janma Bandha Vinirmukta Padam Gajantyanamayam Karma Jambudi Yuktahi Phalam Chatva Manishina Janma Bandha Vinirmukta Padam Gajantyanamayam
Karma Jambudi Yuktahi
Karma Jambudi Yuktahi
Tyatva Manishina
Phalam Chatva Manishina
Nirmukta
Janma Bandha Vinirmukta
Gacchantyanamaya
Padam Gajantyanamayam
Karma Jambudi Yuktahi
Karma Jambudi Yuktahi
Yakta Manas Sinaha
Phalam Chatva Manishina
Yanavara Vinirmukta
Janma Bandha Vinirmukta
Adi Anamayam
Padam Gajantyanamayam Karma Jambudi Yuktahi Phalam Chatva Manishina Janma Bandha Vinirmukta Padam Gajantyanamayam
Karma Jambudi Yuktahi
Karma Jambudi Yuktahi
Tyatva Manishina
Chatva Manishina
Janmavanda Vinirmukta
Bandha Vinirmukta
Gacchantya Mayam
Padam Gajantyanamayam. Okay. Would anyone online like to lead the chanting of the verse? We'll look at the word meanings. Karmajam, because of fruitive activity. Udi Yukta, being done in devotional service. He, certainly, palam, results, tyaktva, giving up, manishina, devotees who are great sages, janma bandha, the bondage of birth and death, vinir mukta, liberated soul, padam, position, yachanti, reach, anamaya, without miseries. Translation: the wise engaged in devotional service take refuge in the Lord and free themselves from the cycle of birth and death by renouncing the fruits of action in the material world. In this way, they can attain that state beyond all miseries. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The liberated living entities seek that place where there are no material miseries. The Bhagavatam says, this is Canto 10, Chapter 14, Text 58 from the Bhagavatam, Samashritaye padapalava plavam mahatpadam punya yasho marare Bhavam buddhir vatsa padam param padam param padam yad vipadam natesham. Quote, for one who has accepted the boat of the lotus feet of the Lord, who is the shelter of the cosmic manifestation and is famous as Mukunda, or the giver of mukti, the ocean of the material world is like the water contained in a calf's hoof print. Param Padam, or the place where there are no material miseries, or Vaikuntha is his goal, not the place where there is danger in every step of life. Owing to ignorance, one does not know that this material world is a miserable place where there are dangers at every step. Out of ignorance only, less intelligent persons try to adjust to the situation by fruitive activities, thinking that resultant actions will make them happy. They do not know that no kind of material body anywhere within the universe can give life without miseries. The miseries of life, namely birth, death, old age, and diseases, are present everywhere within the material world. But one who understands his real constitutional position as the eternal servitor of the Lord and thus knows the position of the personality of Godhead, engages himself in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Consequently, he becomes qualified to enter into the Vaikuntha planets, where there is neither material miserable life nor the influence of time and death. To know one's constitutional position means to know also the sublime position of the Lord. One who wrongly thinks that the living entity's position and the Lord's position are on the same level is to be understood to be in darkness and therefore unable to engage himself in the devotional service of the Lord. He becomes a Lord himself and thus paves the way for the repetition of birth and death. But one who, understanding that his position is to serve, transfers himself to the service of the Lord, at once becomes eligible for Vaikuntha Loka. Service for the cause of the Lord is called Karma Yoga or Buddha Yoga, or in plain words, devotional service to the Lord. Om Jnanatimirandasya Gnanjana Shalakaya Chakshurandmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayamupakadamayam Darati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shutapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavams Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Saganaragana Tanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitan Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitam Cha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radhakanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatayubhyascha kripasindubhyeva cha patitanan pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Sarasvati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine. Bhagavad Gita chapter 2 text 51. Karmajam buddhi yukta hi palam tyaktva manishina janma bandha vinirmukta padam gacchant yanamayam. The wise, engaged in devotional service, take refuge in the Lord and free themselves from the cycle of birth and death by renouncing the fruits of action in the material world. In this way, they attain that state beyond all miseries. Hare Krishna. Right. So, Garuda and Damayanti gave the title of this program "Rearranging the Chairs." So that's a allusion, a reference to like the saying "rearrange the chairs" on the deck of the Titanic. So, yes. Uh, so as far it in the essence, there's like futile activity that on the very superfluous vision can seem like, oh no, we're doing something. This is useless. That's the meaning of that saying. So there are many verses in Bhagavad Gita that really point to that essence, like what's truly meaningful use of life and what's kind of like what's a cosmetic, shallow thing that's really devoid of any meaning and substance. Many verses. I chose this one because right in the first sentence, Prabhupada's talking about a boat. The liberated living entities seek that place where there are no material miseries, the Bhagavatam says. For one who has accepted the boat of the lotus feet of the Lord, who is the shelter of the cosmic manifestation and is famous as Mukunda, or the giver of mukti, the ocean of the material world is like the water contained in a calf's hoofprint. So Prabhupada's directly giving ocean analogy. And there are many such, just like we can find so many metaphors about the sun. So many metaphors about the forest, so many metaphors about Krishna consciousness, spiritual life related to the sea and the boat. So that's why I chose this one, amongst many we could choose. Okay, so later in the 8th chapter, Krishna says, Abrahma bhuvana loka punar vartino arjuna mamu pechitukante punar janama yavidyate. Krishna says, from the highest place in the material world, the greatest body, the Brahmaloka, like down to the lowest, all are places of misery where repeated birth and death take place. Mamu pecha kontea yugalayama shashvatam. So that every body we might get in the material sphere, it's a temporary place full of miseries. Okay, so just like okay, the Titanic, no, there's a nice orchestra playing. Oh no, look, the table's nicely set, and it's got the fork on the left and the whatever direction the fork goes. I don't know. It's got the doily here under the thing. It's like no, this ship's going down. So that's what Krishna said. This ship's going down. Yep. And uh, just this morning in my personal reading, I was reading Canto 10, and Prabhupada. He was well. Narada Muni speaks a verse about how the result of this body, will be will be uh, will be um, uh, ashes or worm stool or yeah, it becomes stool now or like that. So I'm just repeating. This might not be the best, like as an introductory lecture, because Krishna consciousness, come where the happiness is, and he's talking about worm stool and stuff. So then Prabhupada in the purport goes on about like, yes, stool and ashes, or you become this is the result of the body. So, so also, actually, I noticed since I did a little research, the Titanic's in the news. Like they found the Titanic off of near
Recently?
they well they found it maybe 30 years ago. It took them decades to find it, but no they but they just not they just now they with new technology they have like pictures, because it's like 15,000 feet under the sea. So now they have technology they can like get pictures. So it's like it was in the news. I noticed I did a search a few days ago. All right, so the thing on the story of the Titanic, as I understand, is okay. Like the ship's gone down, and the thing was like the Titanic there in 1912 or whatever the year was, more than 110 years ago. The idea was like this ship can never sink. Okay, that was like this ship can never sink because this is greater than the battle. And then like on its first voyage, it hit. We can say it hit this huge, monstrous iceberg. But it hit an ice cube. It hit just like in the refrigerator, you could probably find ice cube. That we can think it was like this big and so similarly so similarly um that we could think like this body, yeah, I don't, and this is like this mighty thing, and it's like invincible, and it's generally speaking, the younger one's body is the more we kind of think of this invincibility, like that. Um, but because yeah, from the cosmic perspective, the big iceberg that sunk the Titanic is not even an ice cube that you could find in a fridge. The whole Atlantic Ocean is a drop of water. Once they were talking to Prabhupada around 1977, towards the end of his manifest pastime, and they were trying to figure out like some Vedic cosmology and some stuff in the fifth canto, and they were saying, well, it says that the Pacific Ocean is this and that, and it says this, and at one point Prabhupada says, he said, the the Pacific Ocean is a drop of water. Just he was giving some perspective, and then he did explain the concept. So yeah, so just like at any moment, just something. Okay, maybe maybe some of you have read the book or saw the movie the War of the Worlds. Okay, it's science fiction. A lot of science fiction comes, it manifests. So the idea is like there were these aliens from the Martians, right? The Martians, and the greatest, and so like the military of Earth, and I think like even the earthly nations came together because it was common enemy, and the Martians were just destroying everything. But then all the tanks and the aircraft and the bombs and all like that, and just like the Martians were just like laughing at it. But then one fine day, then these Martian aliens that were destroying everything, they just lost their strength and they died. Turned out there was some microbe, some amoeba, some little ice cube, some little thing that their systems couldn't handle, and then so a little bacteria basically destroyed the Martian. So okay, so that's uh, so Prabhupada emphasizes here, and again in many places in Bhagavad Gita, the essential problems: birth, death, old age, and disease. Okay, that's the essential problem, and so that's the context, right? We'll get distracted by other problems, which are more illusory problems related to eating, sleeping, mating, defending. And then defending can mean like it can mean defending like with fists or with paying taxes for a thermonuclear device, or defending being like defending my ego from this insult. It can take different forms. So with so the idea is like birth, death, old age, disease. These are not wanted things. We don't want these. This cycle of birth, death, old age, disease. These are painful. So as long as we're trying to like fix those things, as long as we're trying to just enhance the eating, sleeping, mating, defending without like, how can I solve the real problem? Okay, that's like trying to rearrange the chairs on the deck of the Titanic. Because all of those things, they're just very ephemeral. There's a text from a Vaishnava poet, Kamala Dala Jala Jivanatala Mala Bajure Pade Tire. Says like this whole material happiness, just like a drop of water on a lotus leaf, tottering, teetering, tottering. Okay. Okay. And then it's just like at any moment, like that. So at any moment, this body gets attacked by disease, effects of old age. Death can come at any moment. So then the Vaishnava poet says, Baju re, Baju hari pari ti re. This is like, so let me really use my time usefully for bhajan, for kirtan, like that. So um yes. So this is the context. Right? This is the context. Birth, death, old age, disease. So we're encouraged, give ourselves to solve this problem. And there is a way to do it. There's a way to do it. And otherwise, it's just like rearranging the chairs on the deck of the Titanic. And yeah, so like so we're encouraged to cultivate a healthy fear of being stuck in a body and getting another body subject to birth, death, old age, and disease. Okay, someone could say, "Oh well, I'm not scared of death." So the idea, basic materialistic society, it's an effective dedication. It's an effective commitment to just forget about those things. Just forget about those things. Have a good time. Go for it. It's it's commitment. And the more consumerist we become, that's what it's about. You get that? Okay. So, but research clearly indicates the death rate remains steady at 100%. The statistics don't lie like that. We can say it's like, okay, well, talk about the disease, but medical science has done so much to cure disease. So now here we can look in the 2020s, practically no more. No, if we look at the 2020s. Yeah. So, so it's just, yeah, so just like these tragedies are happening. These tragedies are, or even if like, just like in one moment, okay, sharing from my life when I was 5 years old. I had a happy family. I had an older sister and my mother, two older sisters, and then one day, one day, my eldest sister, she died in a car crash. She was actually being driven with some others, and she was being driven to Sunday school, Hebrew school. And no one else, my other older sister, she was sitting right next to her, but no one else got injured, but like that. So, so then the whole household became depressed. On the blessing side, it probably helped me to become a more introspective person. But they're just like tragedy. We all have stories. It's not about my stories. We all have stories to tell. All have story. We all have sad stories to tell around death, disease, old age, like that. So, so that's the idea is that that can be a warning signal, like let's get serious. Let's not just superficially rearrange the chairs. So I was sharing about my reading this morning, and so driving here from Alachua to La Crosse, driving here. I was listening to Prabhupada. I was listening to Prabhupada. And he gave an example. He gave a metaphor. So here's the boat metaphor, but Prabhupada gave the metaphor. He said, like, if there's prisoners, and someone can be in a third class prison, maybe solitary confinement, and you don't even you, you don't even get to go in the exercise yard, and you're in tight bars. But then there's a first class prison. So Prabhupada, it's a perfect analogy. So Prabhupada it's just the same thing as rearranging the chairs. He says, like, Prabhupada, if you're a third class prisoner, the goal isn't, I'll become a first class prisoner. No, the goal is like, how to get out of this prison. How to get out of this prison. Right? So we can think of like, to help people, like, oh well, while you're in prison, I can I can get you more cigarettes. I can get you like an extra 15 minutes in exercise. And I was like, look, real help. How to get out of this place? Liberation. Liberation. Dharma svanusti pumsam vishvaksena gadasya no padiyadya diritim shrama eve kevalam. So fulfilling our responsibilities, whatever our responsibilities are, in family, in career, in fulfilling our responsibilities, to the extent that they don't inspire inspiration and enthusiasm to actually get on the lifeboat and stop rearranging the chairs, then Shrama Avi Kevalam, then it's like a useless waste of time. It's like the prison analogy. Some of you heard me share some personal story. This goes back about 30 years, like 1992, 93. And back there in the course of the year, I made two trips. The director of the ISKCON prison ministry at that time, his name was Chandrasekhar Das. The director is Bhakti Gautier. But I think he's in New Orleans now. But anyhow, I went with him twice, and because he would do Krishna consciousness Bhakti yoga programs at prisons. So he took so one, it was like a 5 hour drive, and it was past Tallahassee towards Pensacola. It's called the Eglin Air Force Base, and so we went into the Eglin Air Force Base. And all I knew is he was taking me to do like a prison bhakti yoga program. All right. So I could see it was an Air Force base. And the first thing I saw when we turned in, not the very we got, there was a guard and this that, but basically, so there was tennis courts and there were people playing tennis. I had some attraction. Let's put it that, huh? I'll just leave it there for now. So there were tennis and people playing tennis. So I assume that must be the generals and the administrators, like that. So we need to do some security check in, and we get into the actual prison. It was the prison, and the reason why it was a prison because there was some practitioner of Bhakti Yoga there who was in prison, and he was a practitioner of Bhakti Yoga, and he arranged the program. So we talked to him, and then so it turns out those who were playing tennis, those whom I was envying at the time, they were not the generals or the administrators. They were the prisoners. They were the prisoners. It's true story. And that's what Prabhupada's referring to. It was a first class prison. And then there was like 20 prisoners at the Bhakti Yoga program. And one was there was like bank managers, white collar crime sort of thing, not violent crime. Bank managers. There was they said, oh, later this week, there's a a uh, a state congressman coming in. He did the sort of things that Congress people do, but he got caught. Excuse me. So yeah, so like that. So wonderful program, very enthusiastic. So all right, and then they had their volleyball court, and there was no barbed wire fence, right? There was a line you don't go across. If you go across a line, outside, maybe a mile away, if you go across the line, then you'll go to a maximum security prison. So, okay, so it's a first class prison. But the point is like the goal isn't like, okay, well I'll still be in prison if I can, but I can play tennis. So it goes, because even though it's still like, let's say if they wanted to visit their daughter in New York, well, they couldn't do that because they don't have freedom. They're not in prison. They're still in prison. Let's say they wanted to go on a vacation to the cabin, or they wanted to pursue their business. They can't do that. Okay. So the goal is how to get out of prison altogether, and that's described here. That's described here. So, hmm, all right. So it's described in the very first chapter of the Bhagavatam, first chapter, first canto. Sri Sutta Goswami says, living beings who are entangled in the complicated meshes of birth and death can be freed immediately by even unconsciously chanting the holy name of Lord Krishna, which is feared by fear personified. Okay. So this gets into like, all right, so if I'm not just rearranging the chairs, what does it mean to like be intentional, getting on this lifeboat? If we take that metaphor. All right, so this is so to live our life in a way where we're free from the miseries of being in a body that's forced to birth, death, old age, disease. Okay, because that's another analogy I just read from Prabhupada recently. Okay, I like the analogy of like maybe the details of this I came up with, but the essence comes from Prabhupada. So the details I go, it's like, let's say it's another Titanic analogy, same idea. Okay. Or a prison analogy. So let's say you're given you're given a new car, the car of your dreams, whatever that happens to be. And here's the keys, and it's all paid for. The insurance is paid for the next 20 years. Here's the car of your dreams, whatever. Lamborghini, whatever. I don't know. And so you just enjoy. Just one thing, keep in mind. No, one thing. You can keep it in mind or not. But there's a bomb in the car, and it could go off at any moment. But you just have a good time. Just go for it. Enjoy. Put a smile on that face. You enjoy. So it's not, that's what's happening. This body, there's a bomb. Maybe it's a bomb to complete destruction. Maybe it'll bomb that will do like a lot of devastation, but not complete. Right. And it can go off at any moment. So in order to enjoy in that car, I need to like, I would need to like do a lot of drugs or something to just forget that there's a bomb in there that could go off. It might go off for 10 years, but it could go off in 1 minute. Just have a good time. That's our situation. That's our situation. So it means in order to pretend to have a good time, I need to go into some heavy forgetfulness. So that's what material life is about. Heavy forgetfulness that we're uh, uh, um, uh, the philosopher Epictetus. He said, "Remember, you are a little spirit soul bearing a corpse." Greek Stoicism. You are a little spirit soul bearing a corpse. Tolstoy said, "Remember, this body is a train leading to death. We're on a train leading to death." Okay. So Prabhupada, so the vehicle analogy that I just gave, there's a bomb there. Prabhupada in the conversation, yeah, it's a conversation. Same essential night. He said, what if, what if there's a beautiful woman? And this is Prabhupada. He said, what if there's a beautiful woman and you go and enjoy with that beautiful woman, and when you come out, I'm going to shoot you, but just have a good time.
That's what it is.
What's that?
That's what it is.
That's what it is.
Maya is a woman.
That's what it is. So, yeah, no, you just have a good time with that beautiful woman. But when you're getting out, you're getting shot. So so in order to enjoy rearranging the chairs in the car with the beautiful now, one thing the Prabhupada says, beautiful woman, he'll often say, and for a woman, that means a very handsome man. So he's not like biased that way. He makes it very clear. Okay. Like he'll say yeah, so for woman, woman means man. Like he just makes it clear. It's like all living entities or
attracted to the same gender.
what's that? And we can go there too. But the principle is the same. The principle is the same, right? As long as I want to enjoy, instead of putting Krishna in the center and using my life for Krishna's enjoyment. All right. So, so can it once be freed, or even once chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare
Hare Rama, Rama. Similarly, in the first chapter of Bhagavatam, first chapter, right towards the end, Sutta Goswami, he's no, it's Shanakarishi. Shanakarishi. Sonakarishi. He speaks to Sutta Goswami and he says, we have met your goodness by the will of providence, just so we can accept you as the captain of the ship. So another ship analogy. We're focusing there today. It's the theme. We we have met your goodness by the will of providence, so we can accept you as the captain of the ship. To to uh, to help those, to relieve those who want to cross the very difficult ocean of Kali, which deteriorates all the good qualities of human beings. Okay, so the nature of the lower modes of the age deteriorates all the good qualities of 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 the of human beings. So, chanting Hare Krishna and accepting the guidance of a captain, a qualified captain of the ship, who won't engage us simply in rearranging the chairs in a futile endeavor. Shrama eva hi kevalam. All right, so fortunately, we have Srila Prabhupada as as the captain of the ship, to whatever extent we want to accept. And just to make it simple, to whatever extent, I'll speak in I statements for this. To whatever extent I follow Prabhupada's guidance, then I'm relieved of misery and the foolishness. And to whatever extent that I deny and reject Prabhupada's guidance at any given moment or day, then I'm just entangled in the foolishness, rearranging the chairs, trying to enjoy in that car with the bomb, whatever metaphor we want to use. Yes. Another verse that could fit this theme in the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Devyesha gunamai mama maya dharatyaya mamevaya prapajante mayam etam tarantite. And so Krishna says this ocean of Maya, it's like impossible to overcome. Dharatyaya. But one who surrenders unto me can easily cross beyond it. So cross beyond it means like the rearranging chairs. Here, I'll do more Greek Stoicism. Epictetus says the essence of all philosophy is to live one's life such that one is as little as possible dependent on external things for one's happiness. Okay. So those external things, that's rearranging there. Oh, just put that chair there. Just put that chair there. Just put that chair there. Okay. So, so this process of bhakti yoga founded on following our current link to the Parampara, Srila Prabhupada, chanting Hare Krishna, it's about cultivating a consciousness where We're not in any illusion that, well, with this, if we just rearrange the chairs a little bit more, then I'll be really fulfilled, peaceful, satisfied, and secure. No, that's just all illusion. That's chasing the carrot on the stick. But cultivating a consciousness, the Sanskrit term is atmarama, atmarama, where we're self-satisfied. And it's a very active state. It's not a dynamic state. There's the also Bhagavatam reference, the Avanti Brahman. The Avanti Brahman, he states, he prays, etam sa astaya paratmanishtam ajatmasita urvatamer maharshibi aham tarishyasi. Tarishyasi means to cross the ocean. Aham tarishyasi duranta param he says, I shall cross over the insurmountable ocean of material existence by being fixed in service at the lotus feet of Sri Krishna. This path is approved by all the previous acharyas who were fixed in serving Supersoul Paramatma, Paratmanishtam, fixed there in serving the lotus feet of Sri Krishna. So to the extent that we use this time, we are that irreducible quanta of consciousness that's inhabiting the body, to the extent that we use this body in service to Krishna, guided, service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, guided by a truly qualified captain of the ship, then we achieve that that fulfillment, that inner joy that nothing can touch, and then we're not interested in wasting time rearranging the chairs. We might, yeah, such a devotional spirit soul might certainly be active in participating in the world. This is not an escapist philosophy. It's very world embracing. Dharmasya pavargasya nototam kalpate nortasya dharmikantasya kamalabhaya smriti he smrita. That this that in fulfilling our obligations, in fulfilling our responsibilities, certainly the ultimate goal is liberation from the samsara cycle of birth and death. The goal is not economic development. Economic development might be there, not to reject it. And if it's there, not to use it just to rearrange the chairs, which is the metaphorical equivalent of sense gratification. Rather, kamasya nendriya pritir labo jiveta yavata jivasi tata jigasa noto yascha karmabi. Life's desires should never be directed towards sense gratification, because the ship's going down as much as we gratify the senses. Here's the thing, whether we devote ourselves to a true spiritual life, I just want to indulge, to enjoy my senses. There's going to be pleasure for the senses and misery for the senses. Perhaps we've noticed that. It's going to be pleasure, it's going to be misery. So that's going to come, Matras Parshas Tukantu, Shitoshna Shukadukada. Okay. So human life is meant for inquiry into that fulfillment that will never be crushed by time, inquiry into the absolute truth. In the course of that, the senses will be gratified. Sometimes they won't be gratified. The idea is not to make more material pleasure the goal, because this ship's going down. This ship's going. So I'll read this text again. Text 51, Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2. Karma jambudi yukta hi palam chatva manisina. Janma bandha vinirmukta param gachhant yanamayam. The wise engaged in devotional service take refuge in the Lord and free themselves from the cycle of birth and death by renouncing the fruits of action in the material world. In this way, they can attain that state beyond all miseries. Hare Krishna. Thanks for your presence and attention to the Song of the Supreme, Bhagavad Gita. I welcome at this time any comments or questions.
It's also, I remember, if Anything has beginning, has end.
Yeah.
So if it's gonna be end, don't just anchor yourself down to this earth. You think it's gonna be, you're still gonna be here, still gonna be end.
Yeah.
So just do minimum whatever you needed.
Yeah.
And then you do maximum to go.
Thanks for that. Yeah, that's what that text says. That self-preservation, not to neglect the car, not to neglect the body. Yeah, and comment, hearing your comment. I'm reminded there's a verse in the 5th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Yehi sam sparsha boga, dukkha yunai evate, adyantavanta konte nateshu ramate Buddha. Thanks for that. That Krishna says, a wise person, a true sage, does not seek their pleasure in the contact of the senses with the sense objects. Why? Just as you're saying, adyantavanta, because such pleasures have a beginning and an end. Therefore, they will not be fulfilling for the self. Prabhupada often uses the analogy of like a fish, excuse me, a fish out of water. Okay, so like the analogy, like our water is eternity, because we're eternal, timeless beings. We're only going to be fulfilled and satisfied with that happiness that'll never be destroyed by time. So again, pleasures that have a beginning and end, that might be in the course of doing our service and fulfilling our responsibilities. And okay, it's like, but not to make that the goal, not to make that the goal, because as a beginning, we're ultimately left disappointed, Thanks for that. Damayanti.
Thank you for the class. I'm just thinking about like how tricky it can be.
Yeah.
To be sucked into rearranging the chairs.
Yeah.
Like meaningful things, like relationships,
Yeah.
Like I can be so sucked into rearranging, trying to perfect relationship. Like I'm parenting, I'm raising 2 kids. Like
Yeah.
this is like, I'm so sucked into.
Yeah.
I'm so compelled by certain things. Maybe it's obvious injustice or
Right. Yeah.
something very meaningful or I don't know, compassion or there's just
Some good causes.
yeah,
Yeah.
like subtle things that maybe
Yeah.
gratify the senses. Like
Yeah.
I maintain my life and my relationships, or look at my communication, or look at how or personal growth. Like
Yeah.
so attentive to taking the responsibility to clear all the weeds in my heart. Like
Yeah.
look at like there's certain things that I guess
Yeah.
maybe you could say in the mode of goodness
Right,
or
right.
that are deep or seem meaningful.
Yeah.
That anyway, I'm just thinking how hard it is. It's so compelling to. There's so many things that really can compel one to just kind of get lost in the rearranging the material context. It's really compelling.
Very compelling. Yeah. And that's why we're like, this is about making the distinctions. What's like an attractive form of rearranging the chairs, and what's really like, let's get on these lifeboats. And well, and so, oh, yeah. So you're being successful because here you are in the middle of family life. Here you are on a Sunday afternoon, and you're utilizing your griha for Bhagavad Gita, for not simply rearranging the chairs, at least for these 3 hours. So if it was going on 48 hours right here, I don't know. But and that's what you're saying. That's Bhagavad Gita. That's Arjuna's situation. That's Arjuna's situation because it's completely Arjuna's situation. Because Arjuna in chapter 1, the beginning of chapter 2, he very good, very goodness, like praiseworthy, compassionate, goodness qualities. What's that?
Moralist.
Morality, virtue, dharma. But he had compassion. He had like compassion for vulnerable people, women and children, and I mean all good stuff. You know. At the same time, he realized, like, as Bhagavad Gita, at one point he's Shishasteham Sadi Mam Tram Prapanam. He says, okay, at the same time I realize I'm confused. I've now I'm confused and I've lost my composure due to weakness. Now, Krishna, I'm your disciple. Because Arjuna could understand that ultimately this is some sort of rearranging the chairs, and in a very good way. It wasn't just like kind of like selfish, ignorant. So, we can see ourselves in our Arjuna situation. And yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult because so it's like it takes like a lot of sincerity. And then if we're sincere, tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam pradipurvakam tadami buddhyogamam yenamam upiyantite. He says, if you're sincere to really want to live your life substantially for that which is eternal, I'll give you the intelligence to make those difficult distinctions. Thank you, Damayanti. Other Melanie.
Philosophical question, but like, interestingly, I heard Prabhupada speak about if you're in a prison, like if your effort is to be in a better prison.
Yeah,
you know,
right.
things about.
Yeah.
Like he's very humoristic with that.
Yes.
I heard it just a few days ago. It's interesting. You heard it just in your car now. I was thinking about the verse, and there is the word used is like not attached to the result or something like that.
Yes. Free themselves from second birth death by renouncing the fruits of action in the material world. In this way, they can stay in that state.
Yeah, to renounce the fruit of the work.
Yeah.
So it's a key. It's really is a key.
Yeah.
And it's a key for what Damayanti also you're sharing, because it's just we need to do something. So if my psychophysical nature and my prescribed duty is to be a mother, then I'm going to be a mother the best I can.
Yes.
But there is no attachment to any fruitive anything. Like anywhere. And then I've been looking at being healed. I'm really meditating a lot on being healed, and I have conversations sometimes with healers like Rohini, and being healed to me means being healed from the material disease, because that's the most contagious one. That's the one that's so almost imperceptible of a disease, the material disease, and how being healed also, like there is Mama Maya. You put it at birth. So it's very clear in the Chaitanya Charitamrita also, like that Maya can it's a clutch. And that clutch can all of a sudden be released. It can be released. And in sense, it's not the do have be. It's just like I'm doing my work. And it seems that as long as we are in that mode, and I see that with healing the body, and I see that with healing the mind, like I do so much work, I do seminar and coaching, and I'm still in the same place, how terrible I am because I'm still in the same place, and same with healing the body. Like people, the first things they do when they have a disease is like, I need to do something, I need to work very hard, and I'm going to heal myself. And really, like, it's not how it works. It's just not how it works. How it works is like that clutch that is going to be released. And part of it is not, like to really not be in any fruitive mentality about any of it, including spiritual life. And allow ourselves to be healed, not do healed. To be healed. And of course, if I'm a devotee, I chant my round, I read the books, and I do that for association. I do that because I love it. I do that, but not with a fruitive result either. So I'm just putting a lot on the table right now. But it's all the things that I've been churning within me myself. About all that.
Thanks for that. And that points to such an essential part of the verse we didn't, at least not directly, touch on the essence of karma yoga becoming bhakti yoga. And oh yes, Hare Krishna. The detachment. Yeah, I was just reading a conversation from Prabhupada, and he was because I was like, well, I'm practicing Bhakti, I'm practicing Krishna consciousness, but I'm still suffering. And then Prabhupada goes into healing, not an analogy. He goes just like, he says like, let's say if you're sick, if you're ill, if you're ill, you go to the physician, then immediately as you go, you're not going to suffer. No, because like your pain might increase actually, right? Because you're in the but you're in the right place. You're in the process. You're in the process of healing. And so he gives many analogies like that you're in the right place. Um, but the process itself, like if we're because he was referring to those with the mentality, it's like, okay, I'm here, yeah, I'm chanting, no, but I'm still miserable, I'm still suffering, and then they leave, and because you're attached to a particular result at a particular pace in a particular time, and if you don't get that, then okay, forget it. So, but no, it's in a sense, it's like being attached to the process, the healing process, whether physical healing or spiritual healing, being attached to the process and not attached to the result. So, and because Prabhupada was getting at the root of the spiritual disease of why some come and then they leave. They want spiritual life cheap. So yeah, clearing the anarthas, clearing the unwanted things. That's it could be a lot of pain involved with that. Thanks for that. Rasa Manjari.
So we're on a boat.
Yeah.
It's going down.
Yeah.
While we're on the boat, we're all rearranging the chairs.
Yeah.
So instead of this I am mine, I was thinking if you could talk a little bit about how we rearrange the chairs in Krishna teaching rather than an I am mine consciousness. Just speak a little bit about that because that's all we can do while we're waiting for our boat to go down.
Yeah.
Is rearranging the chairs.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how do we do that?
How do we rearrange the chairs in a way that's meaningful in Krishna consciousness?
Yeah, instead of, because I'm living with someone, she has a beautiful house. She's always touching this and always rearranging this. I watch her. But sometimes I see that she's doing it because she has to do it for her own self. But other times she has a beautiful altar and I can see she's doing it for Krishna. Yeah. So she's doing the same thing, yeah, but in a different mentality. So
okay. Hare Krishna. Thanks for your comment and question, Rasa Manjari. Well, okay. I guess to talk about it, I'm more inclined to go to let's call it the vehicle analogy, right? So it's not that this body is useless. So just like if we're driving a car, so we want to take care of the car, right? We want to make sure it gets serviced and it's clean. But always remembering, first of all, that I'm not the car, and the car is there to serve me on my journey. So that's different than like, yeah, I just spent the last 3 weeks shining the hubcaps and taking care of the carburetor. I don't even know what a carburetor is, if cars have a carburetor, whatever, but you get the idea, right? Yeah, and so that's what they call it. It's not like Kamasya Nindriya Pritir. So to take care of the body, that includes we have a particular profession, we have relationships, care for them, care for them. Prabhupada says, purport in the 10th canto, 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Yeah, he says like family relationships, they're natural sources of affection. It's natural to have affection. And with our family, naturally we have affection. You need to, this bhakti yoga, it's very world embracing. It's not world rejecting. whatever we do, whatever our profession, whatever our psychophysical, whatever our artistic nature, use it. And like, so with family affection, not to reject that and not to indulge in it. Let's put kirtan. Let's have kirtan. Let's have Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita in as best as we can in the center of the family. And then in our profession, yeah, let's rearrange the chairs. Let's do it expertly. Let's do it excellently while being intentional to get inspiration and realization of revelation. How can I engage this artistic endeavor? How can I engage that for myself and others in self-realization, whether we're in psychology or agriculture? So yeah, like Srila Prabhupada and the Acharyas, they want their followers to be leaders in practically every field of human endeavor, at least every respectable field of human endeavor. So it's not, oh no, we're going to chant in a cave and imitate Haridas Thakur. No. So not to neglect. Oh, this is material. No. I'm doing this. I'm doing this with an intention, whether it's communication in relationships, whether it's keeping the house nice, whether it's being responsible and on time for my appointments, then people appreciate the qualities of a aspiring devotee of Krishna. I'm committed to excellence and mastery, and to get realization, yukta vairagya, how to utilize everything, in self-realization and Krishna consciousness. And then in that way, it's not empty, useless rearranging the chairs. It's using Krishna's energy in Krishna's service. It's taking nice care of the car, realizing its purpose. There's a text by Narada Muni in the first canto speaking to Vyasadeva. Idami pumsas tapasa shutasya suktasya sviktasya chabudi datayo avichuturta kavibir nirupito yadutamashloka gunanuvarnanam. In the verse, in the purport, Narada Muni and Prabhupada, they talk about science, physics, chemistry, politics, social work, sociology, psychology. They talk about all these professions. And they go, Narada Muni and Prabhupada, they're not saying reject them because they're material. No, use them for yad uttama shloka gunanu varnana. And then physics becomes purified, art and dance, then it becomes purified. And, to the extent that we're in family life, we're in the material world, and how to actually relate to it in such a way that we transform matter into spirit, that requires spiritual intelligence. So like that's like that could be the razor's edge of spiritual life. Because if we're there, it's like, yeah, I'll get a nice house and I'll be in this profession. I'll use it for Krishna. At the same time, if we don't have enough realization, if we don't have enough spiritual strength, then we could be out in the world and I do it all for Krishna. Pretty quickly we're trying to catch the big fish, and we get drowned. We can get pulled into the ocean by the big fish. So this bhakti yoga, it's not about rejecting things. That's a form of impersonalism. And then to participate in a way to where we're really spiritualizing matter, that requires that we have enough spiritual strength in connection with Prabhupada that we don't get pulled into the ocean. Thank you, Rasa Manjari. Rohini.
Just thinking about like spiritual and not including like genuineness, like genuinely wanting to serve Krishna,
Yeah.
and in that you being given the intelligence to know when it's time, how we can give out that service and what that looks like.
Yeah.
And it just feels like there's so many parts and pieces to it of course, I think it just really comes from a real genuine desire inside for them and Krishna to just arrange that you are then you're engaged in serving in so many ways. I think that it really
there's so many subtleties, so many nuances.
subtleties.
Yeah, and we can get lost in the complexity, and then that's just completely supporting and resonating what you're sharing is the key. Because Krishna says sincerity, intelligence, but the main thing is sincerity. And Krishna says, you be sincere to really want to serve me. I'll give the intelligence how to do it in any field of life.
Mm-hmm. Right, because then it's like your consciousness changes.
Yeah.
And you can see it's like because it goes for I'm not really realizing this, but I'm just having right in this moment we're talking like because then it's like it goes from how can I serve my senses like from how can I continue to numb myself to oh th- this is all being arranged for me for my service for me to serve. And it's like, and you can look at that every moment, but then it's like, I'm thinking of myself because I'm just wanting to numb myself all the time, just wanting to numb. And, and, and I'm seeing just like I'm seeing, oh, okay. I'm being given an opportunity here to serve. There must be some kind of genuine feeling inside that I want to do that because I'm being given this opportunity, and I'm also seeing that as an opportunity. I'm also conscious of that. Where it's like, but I'm so unconscious, like in so many other ways that I'm not seeing that the opportunities are so there's so many in front of me. I'm not and also I think that because I'm more choosing that sense gratification numbing that then I'm it's like I'm in a cloud like it's like I don't see it, but it's like coming out of that cloud like or I don't know just I'm just seeing
you're getting realizations right here in the moment.
Yeah, I'm just seeing how I'm just choosing mostly to just numb myself and want to gratify my senses and I'm just having some small realizations about like oh what it could look like or what I could be doing just actually to be arranging the chairs in service to like to instead of arranging them for them to look nice for me to feel good about myself.
You're opening your heart and consciousness to possibilities right here as we speak, and that's it. So like the fully steadily pure devotee is like constantly seeing, constantly realizing opportunities at every moment to serve Krishna, even in things that could look to others like this is complete material or Maya. So you're looking at like, okay, maybe in some areas, you see Krishna's reciprocating, Srila Prabhupada's reciprocating with your sincerity. So you're getting, this is an opportunity to serve Krishna, to engage others and myself in super soul connection. And in other areas, and I relate to all of this, other areas is like, I just want to veg out right now. I just want to relax and enjoy. And then it's all about this. I just want to enjoy like that. Yeah. Achintya.
To numb yourself or suppress yourself it's normally just gonna pop out again.
Yeah.
You know, like we have a book, it's called Higher Taste. You know, they don't tell you to stop eating meat, you know, so they tell you you need to replace that for higher taste, something is better.
Yeah.
So then when you don't numb yourself, you don't suppress it, because what happened in Gurukulas or Amish community or Hare Krishna community, all these kids, they suppress them. Go chant, go do this. And they like for years, and then as soon as they get on their legs, they out, they eat some meat, they drinking, you know, do whatever. And then the kids who has never been, you know, suppressor now, they actually wants to change, they wants to do some spiritual activities. So I think we just need to figure out how we can replace something with higher taste, and we can enjoy doing that.
Thank you, Chinchi Prabhu. Thank you, Rohini. Yeah, Damayanti.
I'm just thinking, well, a couple of things from what you shared and what you shared, how important association is.
Yeah.
Like at least place yourself in a reasonable association, ideally
Yeah.
uplifting and transcendental association, whether it's like devotees who are trying to follow the pure devotee or you know, Srila Prabhupada himself. Like place yourself in that association, try to start to follow, and like then there's like an interplay of Krishna, Prabhupada, the soul,
devotees,
realizations of, you know, from pain, realizations from inspiration, and it's like a, you know, very dynamic process to become Krishna conscious. Anyway, association. And then I was thinking about numbing and suppressing what's inside.
Yeah.
It's not just that we're suppressing and numbing our pain.
Yeah.
Like we're actually can be suppressing our joy. And
also.
Yeah. I know, like for me, I have this sort of memory from childhood that like, oh, okay, we're not happy, so I'll join the TV and food, you know, like whatever it is. Like I had this sort of like feeling like, because my sisters were older, my mom and dad, like everyone was older and they already were depressed or already in their pain or whatever. But I was like, hello, like, you know, that's big. Or like I was seeking more just by that dynamic of them all sort of already being teens and depressed, or their parents who they're shut down, whatever. And it's like, okay, I'll suppress the curiosity and joy and play and desire, you know, like what I wanted, what was, you know, not that it wasn't a sad family, but in my experience was there was even more possibility. Yeah. You know, and I suppressed it, the joy, like the, you know, curiosity, and I find myself doing that. Like, oh yeah, like I'm passionate, I'm patient, I'm loving, I'm, you know, like there's like, because I get, you know, frustrated or the opposite of those things I just listed, and I'm like, wait, no, that's not my true nature. Like I'm suppressing, like who I really am. Anyway, I was just thinking about that. That's all.
Thanks for that, Damayanti. Yeah. Bhagavatam talks about envy of the self. You know, we use terms like self-defeating, self-sabotaging, but our nature is to be like glorious and shining brightly and in joy and love. It's all of this, all the numbing strategies, and it's envy of self and envy of our own joy. And yeah, so we the quintessential higher taste verse a little later in this chapter, Vishadini Vartante Nira Harasya Dehina. Rasavarja Masopyasya Param Jushnandi Vartate. Krishna says, yeah, we're for the most part, we're not going to be successful in an enduring way to give up a lower taste unless we have a higher taste. Good news is this Krishna consciousness, yeah, it's not about give up dancing. It's like dance in kirtan for Krishna. Get the higher taste. It's certainly not about like giving up eating. Just make a commitment. I eat only pakora prashad. I eat only prashad. Right? It's not about giving up using our let's use our intellect to understand Bhagavad Gita. Everything, not about giving up working. Work in a way where we get for ourselves and others the higher taste. Now, of course, so it's higher taste. At the same time, for those of us conditioned souls who it's like, we're not experiencing the higher taste all the time, then also some discipline. Some discipline is required. So and well, there's a saying like we move, we grow through inspiration or desperation. So both have their place. Like if we realize like this just like this Titanic's going down, this body's going down. I'm just experiencing like this terrible disease. I can be attacked at any moment. And I will be. And like the disease, this is terrible. And maybe it's not even like I have the higher taste of Krishna consciousness, but it's out of desperation. I want to get out of this place.
Mm.
And then we take to chanting, we take to reading Prabhupada's books to get there from desperation. Might not be the purest, highest consciousness, but if desperation works. So to go from the conditioned state to the pure state of Krishna consciousness, Tirsvayam Kulipanjali Sevatesman, which includes liberation, it's generally an interplay of conscious discipline, giving up some immediate gratification, trusting in the longer term enduring fulfillment and the higher taste. The more I get higher taste, whatever future, the more I get higher taste, the more I get inspired to discipline myself. The more I discipline myself in the various habits, cultivating transcendental habits, giving up lower habits. The more I discipline myself, get a higher taste, and so it's usually some combination.
Like a rehab, if somebody takes drugs, you go through this process, it's gonna be not easy to transfer, so you have to tolerate it for a while, and the first thing is Shravana. The
First thing is Shravana,
you cannot do anything, you just listen. I don't care what position you are, just listen, Prabhupada. And then even in the material world, they say, if you're going to tell a child you're stupid for all day, he will believe it and he will be stupid.
Yeah.
So it's the same way, kind of, if you're going to listen and program your consciousness, that's who you're going to be eventually. And then Prabhupada says, second is the prasad. Somebody asks him, how do I know if I make a progress? He says, if you make a prasad and you eat every day, you make a progress. So you listen and you eat prasad. That's like two things. If you do that, you very advanced.
The path is guaranteed. Yes. Thanks for that.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thanks for that. Yes. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Prashad. Yeah. Of course. Akor Prashad. Yes.
And chutney.
Our family made a little song one night when we were eating. We were just samosa, pakora, samosa, pakora, and we're just all four of us were just chanting samosa and pakora. A couple years ago.
Great mantra.
It works for me.
Works for me too.
Yeah.
It's really fun.
So that's it. Yeah.
Fun.
Hearing, chanting, and prashadam, and that's it. Yeah. Prabhupada would say, so this movement, here's the austerity. Singing, dancing, and feasting. That's it. It's just like, no, I want to, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go to a job 80 hours a week that I hate. That's real life. And supposedly singing, dancing, and feasting. That's the program. And then the more we absorb the singing, dancing, feasting, then the more we get inspiration to share the singing, dancing, feasting process with others. So next part of our program will be Shravanam Kirtanam. So before Pakora Prashad, we have Kirtan. So you want to take it from here, Damayanti? Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thanks for your attention. Thank you. Thanks for your presence. Hare Krishna.
Let's do like a standing dancing kirtan.
Okay.
Sarvati, would you lead us? Please. Like purples? Do you mind?
You didn't bring your guitar today.
So and in for I think they're talking all the time. I need it for like the
Sometimes shared. And friend who, because she's got she can see people. And so like she came to my home at the lake house and she saw my grandmother and she said, "You need to be dancing. You need to be singing. You need to be singing." She didn't say to the Lord, but she did say those are the things I needed to do. And so, I came to Christian practices, so honoring my grandmother.
Oh, that's so fun. So it was before you met us.
Before I met you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Because she's like, you need to have more fun in your life.
That's
And
interesting.
and
Damayanti. Damayanti.
Yes.
I'm actually leaving now, driving over to your place.
Okay.
All right.
Great. Great.
See you soon.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.